All right, Spartans, we are going to go over ratios and proportions. These are the notes we've been taking for several days. And we're going to start with the first page here. A ratio is a multiplicative comparison of two or more quantities, meaning comparing two different quantities, we can compare them through multiplication or division. Now, the first one they want us to talk about is a bracelet has three star-shaped beads for every one heart-shaped beads. So the ratio of hearts to stars would be 1 heart to 3 stars. Keep them in the order that the words we're asking for. The 3 ways to write a ratio that you might see, one of which is the words, could be like this, 1, 2, 3, or a colon, which I call a dot dot, 1 dot dot 3, or in the form of a fraction, 1 over 3. Again, hearts was first, which was a quantity of 1. You start with the 1, and then stars after that with a quantity of 3. You end with the 3. Okay, here comes the multiplicative comparison. If the number of stars, which is 3, is what compared to the number of hearts, which is 1? The word is reminds me that there's an equals. So if I just say 3 is what compared to the 1, how do I get to 3 if I only have 1? Well, the stars are actually 3 times the hearts. So 1 times 3 is going to give us 3. Now the reverse of that is here. The heart, which is 1, is what compared to the stars, which are 3? Well, it's smaller. It's 3 times smaller. And the way we say that is 1/3, which also means divide by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. Okay, let's go to page 2. The top of page 2, I'll zoom in a little bit. Hello. The top of page 2, we are comparing part to a part. For example, the star beads are part of the beads, and the heart beads are also part of the beads. So stars to hearts would be 3 to 1. Or I could write it as a fraction, 3 over 1, or my favorite, 3 dot dot 1. Now if they switch the words around, I have to switch the numbers. If they start with the hearts to stars, I have to start with the 1 heart to the 3 stars, or as a fraction, 1 over 3, and my favorite, dot dot 1 dot dot 3. Okay, now we're going to talk about writing equivalent ratios. If you recall in elementary school, you had EFT charts, equivalent fraction tables. These are similar to that. So if I take the number of hearts, 1, versus the number of stars, 3, I can increase or reduce that at any rate. So if I say I double the hearts, now I have 2. I'm going to double the stars. Now I have 6. If I triple the hearts, I go to 3. I'm going to triple the stars and get 9. Well, what if I do 10 times the hearts? What would the stars be? They would also be 10 times bigger. 3 times 10, 30. And that's a part-to-part ratio. Below, we have a part-to-total ratio. Okay. So we're looking at hearts to total. Well, I know the hearts, there are 1, 2. Now, what's my total number of beads right here? There are 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 to 4. That's my hearts to total. Or I could do it as a fraction, 1 over 4, and my favorite, 1 dot dot 4. So if they ask for stars to total, start with the stars, 3 to the total, 4. Or 3 over 4, and of course my favorite, 3 dot dot 4. So writing an equivalent ratio for stars to total numbers would look like this, 3 stars for every 4 total. If I double it, that would be 6 and 8. If I triple it, that would be 9 and 12. If I do a times 10, it would be 30 and 40. Just like an EFT chart, but now we're talking ratios, comparing stars and total. Okay, let's go to page 3. Okay. Now, Can you see it says here? Yeah, ratio that compares two quantities with different measures is called a rate. Now, because the quantities are measured differently, there can be no total. I'll talk about that in just a second. We also need to know that a unit rate is a multiplicative comparison where either quantity will have a value of 1. Okay, for example, a car travels 30 miles per hour. The way we could write that is 30 miles per, that's this line, 1 hour. That would be your unit rate because the hours have a value of 1. And because they're different measures, one's the miles and the other's the hours, there can be no total. If I add 30 miles plus 1 hour, I would get 31 nothing. It won't work. So let's go to the next one. 820 birds per square mile. 820 birds per 1 square mile. Do not park your car under there. That's a lot of birds. But this is also the unit rate because it's 1 square mile, and you cannot add these together because birds plus a square mile doesn't give you anything. Okay, fruit costs $2.50 per pound, so I would say 2.50 per, draw that line, 1 pound, LB. There you go. Okay, let's go to the next part, this table. Now, tables are very, very important with proportions. We're going to be building a lot of tables, and you want to make sure when you build your table, you put the labels. This is the miles, and this is the hours. Let's see what's going on here. Daisy's electric scooter travels 20 miles in 2 hours. So we're going to put the 20 miles in 2 hours. Well, if I were to double that in the miles, I would have 40. How long would that take? Double the time. That would take 4 hours. Or if I triple, 60 miles would take 3 times the time, or 3 times the miles, 3 times the hours, 6. And in fact, this has a unit rate of 1 hour would be 10 miles. You can also reduce down to 1 and 10. So how do the number of miles, let's call them 10, compare to the number of hours? 1. Well, 10 is bigger. How many times? 10 times bigger. So we say the miles is 10 times that number of hours. Then reverse it. The number of hours 1 is what compared to the miles 10? Well, it's smaller. It's 10 times smaller, and the way we say that is divide by 10, or we could say 1/10. You can write the word or the fraction. Either way is fine. Okay, the ratio of miles to hours. First I start with the miles. We'll start with, let's use 10. 10 miles to 1 hour. And the way I calculate the miles, how do I get these numbers all up here? I take the hours and times them by 10. So we're going to write 10 times the hours, and that equals the miles. Or the way humans talk, we say I traveled 10 miles per hour. Now if I flip that, the hours to the miles, now the hours was, over here, 1, sorry, and the miles is 10. So in order to get these hours down here, I have to take the miles and divide by 10. And the way we say that is using 1/10. The hours is 1/10 of the miles. Or you traveled 1/10, or you went 1/10 of an hour per 1 mile. And we were playing around in class and said, well, if 1 hour is 60 minutes, then 1/10 of an hour would be 60 divided by 10. That would be 6 minutes. 6 minutes per mile. I used to could run that fast. Not anymore. Okay, the next part. Unit rates. You calculate the unit rates by finding the quotient, which is division. You divide the two quantities and you can find how much it is for one. For example, Kevin earned $500 for a 40-hour work week. So if you take the 500 and divide it by 40, you will get 10, 100. So 40 goes into 100 twice. That gives me 80. So that gives me 20 left over. And 40 goes into 200 5 times. So that gives me 12.5. Now, does this make sense? Kevin earned $12.5 per hour. $12.50 per hour. I think that sounds pretty good, but let me check the rest. Kevin worked 40 hours per $1. No, he didn't work 40 hours just to earn $1. $500 per hour? That would be fantastic, but that's not what Kevin earned. He works 12 and a half hours per $1. That means he's got to work 12 and a half hours to get $1. That's not what Kevin did. So the answer here is A. Mr. Conlon bought 1/2 pound of bluebonnet seeds and paid $1.75. So a half a pound cost $1.75. Well, if a half is $1.75, 1 whole pound would be more. To get from a half to a whole, you have to double it. So 175 doubled equals 350. Or you could have used division and taken $1.75 and divided it by 1/2, which is 0.5. Move it over, bring it up. Oh, that's our bell. Divide. 5 goes into 17 3 times with 2 left over. 5 goes into 25 5. So $3.50 per pound. The answer is C. And then if a car can travel 330 miles on 15 gallons of gas, can it go 330 gallons per gallon? That makes no sense. 22 gallons for 1 mile? I don't think so. 15 gallons for 1 mile? I hope not. That's bad economy. 22 miles per 1 gallon? Yes. The answer is D. I'm going to continue the rest of these notes on a separate video. Stay tuned.